Here are the 3 red flags that I look for before I invest in a brand new startup. And if they have one of them, I run for the hills. Hey there, my name is Chris Graby, and I love startups. I love investing in startups, talking to founders, and educating new investors every day about this opportunity and how you can dive in. So, red flag number 1, if the startup is not actually solving a problem, that is a huge red flag. If there's a startup out there with a fun idea, but it's not a problem, then that means that no one will actually give them money. If your AC breaks and someone comes to your door and they want to wash your windows, you're not going to pay them. They have to be able to fix a problem, because when a problem is big enough for any customer or any market, they will actually spend the money to buy what you have. A great example of a startup that's actually solving a problem is a company that I invested in called This Way Global. And Angela Hood is the CEO and founder of this company. And for her, she had a personal problem when it came to being hired. She was being overlooked by jobs because she was a woman. And she was an architect, and she'd put her name, Angela, and not one call would come her way. And when she flipped it on her resume and put A Hood on there, the phone calls started rolling in. So she saw the bias. She set out and developed an AI tool and software now that so many corporations are leveraging and using so that they themselves can eliminate bias from the hiring process. She's partnered with Google. IBM is involved in this. It is a wildly successful story, and it all happened because she solved a problem. Let me give you an example on the flip side. There was a company back in 2020 as well that was jumping into the world of online meeting notes. You know how it is. You log on to Zoom, and then there's this mysterious AI robot that jumps into the sides, and they're taking notes the whole time. This was an arms race, really. 2020, everyone's online, everyone's doing Zoom meetings every day, and all of these companies are popping up all over the place to try and do the online note taking. The problem that happened is there were so many of them out there, and they had nothing to differentiate themselves, and really the leadership wasn't able to take it and find a way to carve out their niche in the market, and ultimately the company failed. Red flag number 2 is if the founder is an addict. You gotta have a little bit of guts and a little bit of confidence to step into the world and go, look, I know I can build something that people actually want. But when it comes to pride, well, pride has been the downfall of many startups. You know, there's a lot of companies that I've invested in, but one that I think truly embodies this idea of humility is a company called Nextdoor Photos. I love the founders, I love their humility, and I love the mission that they're on. They have people all across this country taking photos for real estate listings, and they're helping that way. But the good that they're doing is really unique. They take the photos that their photographer has taken that day at the house, and overnight they send them to Nairobi, Kenya, they send them to the Philippines, and everyone who's editing those photos overnight while we sleep here in the States is someone who has been rescued from trafficking. Yeah, they were in some sort of really horrible situation. They've been rescued from that. They now have a job. This company has actually designated themselves as a B Corp, meaning that they are socially minded and also profit minded as well. Founders are humble, really good dudes. Not only that, they're making profits, and ultimately they're doing good along the way. That's an example of founders who are humble and trying to make a positive impact. Not that long ago, I was a day away from investing in a startup, and I had some red flags about them, and I didn't really love. They seemed very cocky, very arrogant, very prideful. A lot of it was about them. They weren't really thinking about investors, and that's always something you need to think about. If a founder's thinking more of themselves and their money, then that tells you that they don't really care about you. They just want your money so they can feed their agenda, and they won't be thinking about investors down the line. Red flags never get smaller. They always get bigger. So we were one day away from investing, and it all kind of fell through. And to this day, it's one of those ones that I'm so thankful that I did not invest in, because those founders were definitely hackers. And the last red flag is if there's no option to scale the business, that is a red flag. How big is your total addressable market, also known as the TAM? Right? If you don't have a market that's large enough to sustain you, yes, you can get some small wins along the way, but if you look down the line and there's not this huge path to profit, success, multiple customers, and an opportunity to scale in a very big way, well, you're not going to be very attractive to an investor, because what does an investor want? An investor wants a return on their money. You know, I had the opportunity a couple years ago to speak to a founder who was trying to raise capital, but she was trying to build a beverage, specifically an alcohol beverage. And she was finding a lot of brick walls and not gaining any traction. And she kept trying and trying and trying. And I stopped her. I said, look, one of the hardest businesses to build on the planet is a beverage company. And you're trying to do CBD, alcohol-infused beverage company. I mean, wow, you are tackling a mountain that's almost impossible to tackle. But even if she did, she's going up against big boys, Procter & Gamble's and Unilever's and Anheuser-Busch's and all these big players that have super deep pockets that she'd never, ever be able to overtake and take them down. So I just had a very honest conversation with her. I was like, hey, look, if you don't think this thing is going to work, then you probably shouldn't take money from investors. Find the startup that's easier to build and has the potential to scale without you having to go get millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to scale in hopes that it will work. I actually had a friend call me yesterday and he's like, hey, I'm looking at potentially investing in this escape room that's down in Florida. They want to scale to Orlando. They're down by Tampa. I said, okay, well, tell me the numbers. And in a given year, they're making around $80,000 in profit. Those are really, really low margins. And the way they'd set up their business, long story short, I told him, I said, look, man, I don't think there's scale here. I don't think there's opportunity here. I think these guys are going to be grinding. And so they may have a great lifestyle business, but you should definitely keep your money and not invest. So what about you? What's a red flag for you that you say, no way am I investing in that startup? I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments down below. I'd love to see it. And if you're new to the world of startup investing and you had no clue that everyday investors can become an angel investor, sometimes for as little as a couple $100, well, you can. And I'm here to help educate you, guide you, and teach you how it all works along the way. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, check this one out. And you're also going to love this one right here. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video on the world of equity crowdfunding, learning the ins and outs. I'm excited to tell you that I just wrote a brand new book called The Angel Advantage. And it shares everything that I've learned over the years of startup investing. All you have to do is click the link down in the description and you can go get your copy right now.